Eurovision, Ireland's #1 Eurovision podcast.
Hello everyone, Díomh agus Báilte Arat to the Eurovision podcast. Lads, long time no pod. Here we are. We love a summer break. We love an off season. We're sitting here in Eurovision HQ and it's absolutely balmy outside. All the windows open, so you might get to hear some of the wildlife and the creatures outside the window.
I.e. children.
And also the creatures here beside me. Hello, Connor and Alex.
Hola.
Hola.
I'm feeling continental today.
Just because it's like as warm as Costa del Spain doesn't mean
She's sitting there with a margarita.
I wish. Be one of them
it's hump
stuff.
day. We're nearly there. Nearly at the
Connor
weekend.
did give us some lovely, what you call them?
Cool pops.
That's the one. Yeah, thank you.
What are they actually called? Cool pops? Or-
Calippo.
Calippo.
And they were cola.
Did
flavored.
you call it
Calippo.
Calippo?
Yeah.
It's not Dua Lipa, like Calippo.
What do you
Calippo.
call them?
Calippo.
Calippo.
Caliente.
Caliente. I'm just very continental, you know. I don't know.
Welcome back, guys.
Summer feels.
There you go.
Hello,
Lou,
everyone.
Connor and Alex here shooting the breeze. Yeah, we've been off. We've been loving it.
We're liars. We're liars because we said in our last episode, oh, we'll be popping up throughout the summer. Lads, we haven't recorded since like the end of May, so we've had like a good 3 months off and it was well needed. We've
It
been busy
was.
though, but like it was well needed for sure after a busy season. But yeah, we're back today to wrap up the season essentially because we still haven't technically done that. But yeah, we're going to wrap it up today with a nice little episode though. Which is going to be exciting. A few little topics to touch on, a bit of news as well from the Eurovision world, and yeah, be exciting.
One of our favourite conversations is going to be had that we just, it's like habit now. We have it every year. And
The question.
I think we still haven't found the answer. But we're going to get into what Ireland should do next a little bit later on. Lads, we're in the new studio. Next year's host city is very, very soon, at the end of this month, I believe, is going to be picked. And we are down to the wire to the final two. We're down to Innsbruck and we're down to the capital of Austria, Vienna. So they're deciding soon. Vienna, capital city, airport there, lots of accommodation, well-known capital city. Innsbruck, within the Alps, little bit trickier to get to airport-wise, but not impossible. Slightly less accommodation, beautiful views. Lads, you should look up that runway in Innsbruck. Insane. Alex, do you have any standout opinions here on what Austria should go for?
I think either one will be really nice. I think you did say Innsbruck does indeed look really beautiful. However, I really am craving a capital city. I mean, it's been so long. Even just somewhere you can fly into with ease, that you're not, trying to find connections or cheaper flights or fly at weird times.
Is Lisbon the last capital we've had?
Yes, it was. And like usually even the other places we've gone, like last year in Basel or even Turin, like usually there are airports there, but they're very expensive. They fill up quick. The accommodation gets filled up. And like it feels like every year we get stung by that. Even Liverpool, I personally found very expensive. So I think Vienna would be a nice break from that. But I think if it went to Innsbruck, it would still be very nice, and I'd really look forward to it because Basel, really what was special about it was because it was small and it really filled the entire place with Eurovision, which you wouldn't get obviously in Vienna. But I think we're all due a bit of a cheaper Eurovision.
Lord, give us one, please.
Please. What about you, Connor? What do you think?
I would personally prefer Innsbruck just based on the look of it. I think it looks beautiful.
vibes.
The vibes, yeah, the Alps in the background, and I loved their pitch. I was reading a bit of their pitch on Eurovision World, and basically it all centered around being like a walkable city in terms of 50 minutes from everything, in terms of the venue, Euro Club, Euro Village, and I love that vibe because we've seen it over the last few years. When a city is smaller, it feels more of a buzz. Like that what kind of made Liverpool so special, that you could get it everywhere so quickly and the buzz was felt, whether you were in the village or you were up in the shopping centre or you were in a random shop. It was so nice, whereas you might lose that a bit when you go to a big capital city. Now, I know Vienna isn't that big and they've obviously done a great job before, but still, when it is like in that minute city, and like, to be honest, I've never heard of Innsbruck in my life, so it has opened my eyes to a beautiful city. But Vienna, I love that their slogan is "Europe, shall we dance?" Like, what a random slogan! It's like, why dance? Like, what's the
What's wrong with dancing, Connor?
No, but like, what a random bid for Vienna. Like, Europe, shall we dance? Like, okay, thanks.
Well,
Like,
what's Innsbruck's slogan?
they didn't have one.
Oh.
They didn't bother. But Innsbruck is building their whole concept around being like a cheap Eurovision.
Okay.
But I think that is factored out because there's like feck all hotels in
That's the
Innsbruck.
problem.
So like that's going to rocket up accommodation prices. Like tickets for the show might be cheap, but like realistically, you're not going to be staying in Innsbruck. So I don't know. Looks wise, Innsbruck. Price wise, probably Vienna. But
Yeah. And we've done enough crossing countries and borders the last 2 years. Like, because a lot of people were staying in France last year. You know, can we just stay in the city and give people?
once it's
cheap
better than
accommodation?
Eurovision 2015 as a whole. Like I thought the songs that year were kind of poor. The show itself, I hated the stage, hated the whole vibe of the show. Those three presenters were as dull as bleeding the winter sunshine in Ireland. Like it's so bad that the year of Eurovision in Vienna. So hopefully they can rectify that this year if it is in Vienna. Leah, what about yourself? How are you feeling? Vienna, Innsbruck.
Tonight we're building
Oh, stop.
bridges.
And if Conchita flies through that bloody Stadhalle, I will actually
Stop. That is one thing I'm not looking forward to. Conchita being
no.
everywhere again, as she is every
Go
single
on,
year.
Conchita. Yeah, I agree with you both. I think on different points. You know, long-time listeners will know Lou went interrailing once upon a time, and Vienna I wasn't wowed by personally when I visited. Now I've only visited once, so you
Why?
know.
What about
And
it?
I've heard this recently that it's not the most wow city.
It's really pretty. Like it's more so that there isn't like marks against it. It's more that I can't find marks for it. Like I was in like Amsterdam and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Berlin is really cool. Prague is amazing. Ljubljana is such a cool city. So many elements I liked. Whereas Vienna was just like, yeah, I'm here. There's
Is it
like
kind of like a
there's
boring
bits
city,
to it,
or-
kind of, yeah. And the nightlife was like okay. But like, you know, Austria is like one of those countries. It's like well structured. Like the public transport is good. Like things work there. But I don't know. I'm wondering, would Innsbruck just give us that little bit more charm and like that intimate feel, like you alluded to, Connor? And I think Liverpool's a really good comparison. I loved how compact that was. Like, given that's like the last one I went to, so it's the last thing I can compare to, I suppose. But I really, really want to go to Eurovision next year. So if accommodation is better in Vienna, then like, should we go that way? I don't know. Either way, as you said, Alex, it ain't going to be a cheap Eurovision, probably. So I'm saving my coins. I've got that Revolut pocket rearing to go.
Oh, she's in, lads. She's in.
Fingers crossed.
We also know the possible dates for Eurovision next year as well, so we can mark the diaries. It's either going to be the 12th, 14th, and 16th of May, or the 19th, 21st, and 23rd of May.
Get that annual leave ready, lads.
My sister's birthday on the 23rd of May, so I don't think that would be.
It's a little bit late. They tend to go for the second week, don't they? Usually.
If you could move Eurovision to any month, would you move it to a different month if you could?
Oh, it's such a good question.
Thank you. I thought of it on the spot.
Look at you go.
July and August, so that I could go freely. Be expensive though in July and August, so realistically, not then.
I think for the TV schedule, it might be better in like a June or July in terms of like, I'm just thinking from Ireland's perspective, there's so much programming like in the mix at that time. So maybe they could dedicate more time to Eurovision.
Once
the
it doesn't
summer.
clash with sport, that's my only fear. If you've the Euros or a
Yeah.
World Cup or an Olympics on,
You would have.
all the flag loving people will probably turn towards the sport.
True, yeah.
You know?
And then if you move to winter, you kind of push into the junior Eurovision problem of like people getting sick all the time. The
There's some-
vibes aren't there
Yeah.
either, you know what I mean? So
there's something nice about like the spring bringing Eurovision. You know, when you've had like a long winter and it's like January and you're broke after
Yeah.
Christmas, there's like a lovely warm feeling about like having national finals
yeah.
coming up. So maybe I wouldn't move it, actually, controversially. Would you move it?
I probably wouldn't. If I was to move it, it would still remain in the summer, probably like July or August, like you said. So more of our friends could come. But I think May, I really do love how it kicks off the summer, and then those, you know, months leading up to it are so exciting, and you've got national finals and pre-parties. It really brightens that part of the year, because it can be really miserable, especially in Ireland with the weather that we get. It's really nice to kind of tune into those international programs across the world. So I don't have a massive opinion on moving it. I'm quite happy with where it is.
You're there either way.
Yeah.
And apparently we're going to find out this host city on the 20th of August. It's not been confirmed directly by ORF, but apparently next week we will find out. So we'll obviously have that update on our social media platforms as well. So check it out there. Exciting times.
Another big piece of news that happened, and Connor, I have to say, I nearly died at your graphic on the Eurovision Instagram.
That was
Blew
iconic.
up. It has like 105k in views on Instagram. Yeah,
Gone.
it blew up.
Gone.
It was very camp.
No, I'll tell you the story. I was working on Joe Duffy's last show on Lifeline that day. I was walking to collect a guest and I got the notification that like breaking news, Martin Österdahl is gone. And I was like, feck the guest. I need to make a graphic really quickly. Stopped in the middle of the car park. Was like, what can I do with like my phone and Photoshop? So I was like, right, just type gone in capital letters.
No, you didn't.
Best graphic we've had all season year. Blew up. It popped off.
Yeah, we're
Popped
being
off.
very camp recently with posts. I love it.
Yeah, your dramatic little video like, what? Boom, show,
We're
boom,
camping it
Ireland,
up for
boom, do,
2026.
next, boom.
No, if you could have heard me, I was cackling in my sitting room. It was like traveling through the house. Yeah, lads, Martin Österdahl. He's gone.
He's gone. No surprise though. Like this is something I think was coming. Probably should have came last year, but you know there was rumors at the start of the year that he was going to step down because there was like a court case going on in Malmo or going on in Sweden about an apartment that he had to take up residency in, and he was saying, "Oh, I'm going to take it up in the summertime." I.e., when I stepped down from my role, but he lost the case anyway. But apparently that was the hints of it way back in January. So that's why people aren't too shocked that this was announced at this time. So perhaps, you know, it was coming either way. But I think last year really nailed the nails in the coffin for him because, like, the minute you're booed at a Eurovision event, there's no going back. There really is no going back, unfortunately. And it kind of messes it up, really, because, like, they introduced Martin Green as his boss. And now it's like, do you need that senior role now? Is like, does Martin step into his role now as executive
the optics
supervisor?
weren't great there, were they?
Oh, they're horrendous.
Yeah.
Horrendous.
Yeah.
They did seem to get on. I was watching the Rest is Entertainment podcast, and Martin were both on the podcast together, and they seem to have like great banter together. But you know, again, that could be all for the cameras. We don't know. It's hard to know. But again, when you're introducing you're giving someone a boss essentially because you're not doing your job correctly. That's, again, never good optics for the general public to see.
And he had, I think it's fair to say, in his like short tenure, one of the most kind of tumultuous times to have been working on the Eurovision Song Contest, like albeit running the whole show and being the executive producer, you know, from taking over the reins and having the COVID-19 pandemic and the cancellation of the contest in 2020, you know, leading into Ukraine winning, and then kind of that headache of, well, security wise, obviously they can't host it, sourcing another host, albeit, you know, Liverpool did go really, really well, I think it's fair to say, at the time. And then, of course, all of the very recent controversies surrounding Israel's participation and so on in the last 2 years. It has been a very, very kind of crazy time, a very memorable 5 years, I would say, for him to have been in this role. I don't really know how I feel about it. It's sort of like, you know, we don't know the full inside of what is going on in the organization, and like, is somebody else coming in going to be a similar thing? Can they make serious changes in that role? Is there more happening above them? But what I do know is I would love a big like tell-all interview in a couple of years' time, you know. And
maybe he'll release a book.
Yeah.
That would be great.
We could do like a dramatic reading of it or something. I get it on the El Kindle. Yeah, what do you make of it, Alex?
I don't have much to add, but I think from what I have seen through like research and kind of other creators talking about it, is that a lot of his role is nearly being the face of the competition, rather than making those really high level decisions, such as countries pulling out or not being involved. So I'd say he just was kind of the person to throw tomatoes at, which, it wasn't a great time for him to be in that position over those years, as you said. So I'd say there's parts of his role that he definitely could have done better and improved on. But also, I do think, a lot of the time, I'd say it's not really down to it. It's just handling it. Particularly in Malmo, like when everything went down over those 24, or was it 48 hours? I mean, that really, I think, was a nail in the coffin. Things just did not go well. Everything kind of flew off the handle, didn't it? I think that definitely should have been handled better. But yeah, that's all I really have to say on him.
And as you say, like being the face of the contest, like that's the first person people go towards, whether he was in control or not in control.
Yeah.
That's the face of the contest. So like it was ultimately going to happen if, as we saw in 2024.
I remember seeing a clip online somewhere, and it was like the contrast of Liverpool 2023 and the crowd cheering Martin, Martin, to the huge boos in Malmo. Like you couldn't have missed it.
But even that was
The
seen
flip around.
in semi-final 1. People were like clapping for Martin. Semi-final 2,
Yeah.
people were booing for him in the
Yeah.
final as well.
Yeah.
Like even in that 1 year, there was such a switch up. Like
Yeah.
it's mad.
And it's amazing how, like, that whole Malmo controversy was mainly stemming from Just Klein's, the kind of the issue that happened there and the ultimate disqualification of the Netherlands, along with other things that were happening. I mean, that must have been a crazy time to have the reins of the contest, I don't know how he dealt with that, but like I think at the same time Eurovision fans had the right to have their voices heard, and as you say, Alex, he is the face of the brand, so people were making their feelings known. But he's gone, I suppose. We'll as your post said,
Bye.
bye. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if there's any follow-up announcements.
I agree. So I suppose from talking about big changes in the EBU, maybe we should focus on Ireland and what Ireland should do next. This has been like a continuous discussion, right, between not just all three of us, but I think every Irish Eurovision fan for the past 5-10 years.
It haunts me at night.
It's that constant
Probably
question.
found the answer last year, but it's gone.
I know we keep bringing it up, but your TikTok clue, definitely guys go and watch it. It's like a compilation that we put
last
up
5 years,
of the
yeah.
last 5 years, and really when you watch it, it is an eclectic mix, to say the least, over the last 10 years of acts and ways that we've approached it. So I think we should let's revisit that discussion, shall we, guys?
Do we have to?
Who wants to kick it off?
Like therapy.
We had internal selections for Ireland from 2016 to 2021, finishing out with Leslie Roy and Maps. 2022, we reverted back to Eurosong on the Late Late Show, and we had Brooke, followed by Wild Youth, followed by Bambi Thug, followed by Emmy. So 4 entries in a row selected through Eurosong, the national final. Am I right in believing all 4 of those won the Irish public vote in Eurosong?
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Correct.
So essentially, like, the Irish public have had a big say in the last 4 years. Really, when you're having this discussion about what a country should do in Eurovision, if you're going to simplify the conversation, it's internal selection versus national final, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking across the board between those, we'll say 5 years of internal selections and 4 years of national final, we've had 1 qualification come out of each group. So statistically, for the last kind of decade, we've had 1 from each form of selection. We've often discussed on the podcast together, the 3 of us, and along with a lot of our guests, how Eurosong has felt like it's building on something, that a brand is being slowly created. I think it is probably very fair to say it has improved, right? Since 2022.
100%.
And I would say that fans have been listened to in some regards, and that feedback has been taken on. So now we're looking forward to 2026. Do we go into a 5th year of a national final, or do we turn things on its head and go back internally? So as of this date, the 13th of August, the submissions are not open from our broadcaster RTE, even though it is highly likely we are participating next year. How do we all feel about that? You know, it's nearly the end of the summer. A lot of countries would be in the thick of their selection, their submission process right now. We've even had in past years some countries announcing artists in August and September, like crazy early. We saw in Bambi's year that submissions were opened far earlier in June. Do we think that makes a difference, them being open earlier rather than later?
Maybe from a PR and press perspective, even just to let artists know. Like I'd say at this point in the year, there's like song babies being born across Europe, shall we say, in camps and bedrooms and God knows where. Well, maybe that wasn't the best place. Where do people write songs? Studios, and bedrooms, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't necessarily think people need to be submitting their songs, but I think they need to know at least that it's going to happen in some capacity, which that kind of PR exercise does, just to remind people that it's happening, and to get writing or to start thinking about that, or if they've got albums coming out, to start picking, okay, which song do I want to lead with as a single in September, etc. So I'm not so pushed on the actual submission being open, but I think the PR perspective, it misses out. What do you think, Connor?
I think get submissions open as early as you possibly can. Like, we've seen it with so many TV shows of like, yeah, apply next year. Put that up. Like, we always know, like, as you said, Lou, we're most likely, if not 99.9% like qualifying next year, hopefully, participating in next year's contest. So, like, get submissions open as soon as you can. I do agree with you, though, Alex. Like, songs might not be submitted then, but it shows the intent of taking it seriously so early on. And also as well, like, a lot of artists, well, the type of artists you want to attract, you know, the high talented, you know, established artists, a lot of them are prepping for next year already. Like, even earlier this year, they're planning out festivals, they're planning out European tours, Irish tours. You know, Eurovision, as we know, is more than just a thing in May. It is 6 months of your life, essentially. So you need to plan that out as much as you can. So it is this time of year where you need to be planning that out. So if you are lucky enough not to have anything, or unlucky enough not to have anything booked, yeah, in September when submissions are announced to be open, yeah, you can throw your hat into the ring. But a lot of artists who may have that European tour planned out for April, May, they might be like, oh, feck it, I can't move that. I'm not going to participate, even though I would love to. So, you know, I think just get them open. From a PR perspective, it shows you that you have the intent to participate.
You're invested.
You're invested
Yeah.
in the experience and the journey of Europe. I don't know what I'm saying. Talking shit.
The journey to Eurosong.
Talking shit. I don't know what I'm saying. You get what I mean?
Yeah,
But,
totally.
Yeah, I think just get them open. What's the point? And, you know, it doesn't mean that you have to select your method of a national final or internal selection. Either way, you're going to have a song submission period, because, you know, if a national final happens, great, you have a great bunch of songs to select from. But if you do go internal and you have your eyes set on one artist, they could back out last minute, and then you're like, oh God, where do I get the songs from? I can't approach another artist. You know, let's go to the pool of songs that have been submitted, see what's coming through that avenue. So you need to back yourself up in some capacity, whether you go in internal selection or national final.
Yeah, I like the idea as well of like opening it earlier, but like the Eurovision team within RTE can, you know, have a dialogue going on with artists the whole time. So just because you've opened submissions and you're saying like, oh, they're not going to close until like October or later in the year, it doesn't mean you can't like reach out to an artist and say, hey, I really like your sound. I'd love to hear a few more of your songs, because somebody might submit something. And people who've been on panels and stuff have seen this before, where there's a deadly artist, but they just kind of send the wrong song, or like something that doesn't hit, but you're like, well, what else is in your back catalogue? Like, show it to me, like share what you have. And you, like, as a broadcaster, you can start selling the process of Eurosong to an artist, but also you're giving the artist time to kind of understand what a great opportunity Eurovision and Eurosong can be. So I think the earlier, the better. You can tip away at entries as they come in over the summer. If they need any volunteers in there, I tend to be off in the summer. I can listen to some songs and put a tick or an X beside them. By the way, I was howling some of the responses on our socials when we asked what Ireland should do next. The amount of people, like Matty on Instagram, a few others, just saying, let me pick the song. Just let me pick.
Or I have great taste, let me pick.
If we are presuming that Eurosong is back next year for the 5th year in a row, guys, what do we want to see? Now, a huge thing also that came in on our socials from, I'd say 80% of people was get it off the late. So let's start with that. Do we think A, that should happen, and B, it could happen? Because we've been told before there's constraints. What do you think, Alex?
I'd say it should happen, but I don't think in a realistic world we're here 4 years banging on that door. Especially after, I think, the Ortiz scandals that happened, like still quite recently. I think that is still
still in the news.
It's still in the news. It's still kind of a cloud, I suppose, hanging over the organisation. So to a point, I think, what year was it? 2021. It felt like we were getting there, and then I think when everything went down with the flip-flops and all that, I think that put a stopper on that possibility. So I nearly don't even really like having
flip-flops.
Yeah, the flip-flops. Call back to our show there. But yeah, I think I don't even really like having that conversation because I know it just leads to disappointment. So I for me, it should move off the late, but we have to stay grounded and
Alex
realistic.
is managing the expectations of
I'm
the
managing
listeners here.
expectations.
You're breaking a few hearts, I'd say, across the globe here.
I mean, I would love to, and you never know. But yeah, I like to keep my expectations low. So I would say most likely, if it was going to be a national final, it probably would stay on the Eurosong stage. What about you, Lou?
I think, look, Eurosong The Late Late has improved. I think that's fair to say. They've taken on board definitely some feedback from fans. I mean, if you think back to Poor Brook and what that cast we're working with,
Layla Jane, the Sketchers, No Stage.
Jesus.
Even the postcards of Eurosong 2022, the campfire scene.
The
why
fox,
would you get a campfire and a
the
fox?
tents.
Stuff the fox. Why? Looks like they were off the EP.
It did.
Why?
But a very sad
relevance?
version.
Yeah.
In the TV studio. It was very odd.
Yeah. It has improved. So it's sort of like, if we get the news that, hey, Eurosong is back, it's on The Late Late again, I won't be devastated and I won't be surprised. Kind of similar to yourself, Alex.
I think I'd be quite happy, honestly, for it to go back, knowing that it's on an upward trajectory. I think it's a bit devil, you know? I'd rather something that I know its downfalls, I know where it can improve, versus something that's completely different, like taking it off, I suppose, the Late Late Show. What would that even mean?
I mean, imagine if it did get taken off the Late Late Show and then it was a hot mess. Then we'd be in
which
really
we've
dire
seen
straits.
happen. What was it?
Yeah.
Czechia when they had
ESCZ.
Yeah, ESCZ.
It could have been. Yeah, it could have been executed better.
When you guys talk in the context of taking off the Late Late Show, what does that what's that picture? Is that in another studio where it's just its own show, or is that an outside venue? What does a standalone show look like to you?
Okay, so we'll start with the extremes, right? Because I was just looking at our Instagram comments, and there's two I want to just highlight, not to single these people out, but just to kind of what would you say, whack-a-mole on this, it kind of more extreme suggestion. We had a comment from a follower saying, I want a concert style selection process in the 3 Arena, and I want it to be picked by the public and have it on a Saturday night slot. And I want to win the Euro Millions, but that's just not going to happen. Or it's very
With
unlikely
what
to happen.
budget are we doing?
Do you know what I mean? Somebody else, Justy Dub, long-time follower, how are you? Says, we need something like in Norway or Sweden. And I feel like those two suggestions are so much fun in Dream World, but that's not what we're getting at in this conversation, because just within the size of Ireland, the size of the broadcaster, what the broadcaster can do, and even the interest in Eurovision, I honestly just don't know if we'd fill the 3 Arena.
And even the music industry as well, and what they push, the kind of sound that we have, as you said.
Yeah.
Would people buy tickets to it?
Also as well, do you want to do that? Sweden, Norway do it so well. Do we need to have that level of a show in Ireland? We don't have to scale it up to a 9
I mean, it
12.
would be fabulous.
No, it would be fab, but
In
like
the
I don't
long
think
term, if you could build it to that
100%.
happy
Like
days.
obviously
yeah.
would
yeah.
be all for it, but like I don't think we need that now.
No.
yeah.
Right this moment.
I always think of the Late Late Toy Show as a comparison to Melfest, and people will be like, what? But like, I'm not talking about the scale of the show or what it is. Obviously, the Late Late Toy Show isn't a showcase of music or picking a song for competition. It's this cultural phenomenon in Ireland that everybody tunes in for, everybody's invested in. The biggest stars are on there, the best stories are on there, the highest production and like big budget goes into it, and it's really like supported by the nation. And anytime I've attended Melfest in Stockholm, I've had that same kind of feeling of the cultural phenomenon. Families love it. It's backed by the broadcaster. People love it. But the Swedes built that over so many decades. And the same with the Norwegians with Melody Grand Prix, and fair play to them. But yeah, obviously in a dream world, that would be over time. So if we're scaling it back, if we're being realistic, to go back to your question, Connor, what would it look like outside of the Late Late Show? My wish once upon a time was, we had, I think it was more TV3 at the time, now Virgin Media. We had some kind of shows coming out of the Helix, the likes of, I think, The Voice and several others.
That was
were
RT.
filmed in there.
Voice of Ireland. It was
Was
Ireland's Got
that
Talent
RT?
on
Okay.
TV3.
Ireland's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still,
so
both,
the
both
two,
of the Helix.
two of the biggest broadcasters, yeah, and the Helix worked. It's fairly central in Dublin. We know they have the scope to do that, and they have done that before. That's an option. I think a general actual issue outside of this that Ireland has is our, what would you call it, our venues. We don't have much between like 2,000 and 10,000. And I'd love a little 3,000 or 4,000 to have a national final in. That sweet spot, but we don't quite have that.
Yeah, like I think you're dead right, Lou. Like there is no in between that. Like you're either scaling it up dramatically or like,
Yeah.
well, either way, you're scaling up. What's the capacity of Eurosong? Like with all those chairs on the stage, 90 maybe.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, like to scale it up to 2,000. I have no doubt you'd fill it, but it still would be a dramatic production. The problem is like costs are just so high with insurance, with getting an outside broadcast truck. Like that's just rockets up the price. And like I think we're all very much aware that RT are just not in that financial space right now, regardless of having guaranteed funding for the next 3 years or whatever it is. Like we're just not in that space. So I think for us, just it's about being creative and thinking, okay, we might not be able to scale it up to that size or get it out of RT. What can we do to make it special? And what can we do to push the boat out and really, really change it up if we want to change it up? Do you know what I mean? Do I think going back to an internal selection is the way? Personally, no. I think we put it up on our story a few weeks ago and it was about 75% of people said national final was the way to go.
Yeah.
And I think there's just so many pros of a national final. Like you build up the relationship with the artist from day zero. The fans have to say, as Lou said earlier, all of the winners, the public have decided ultimately as well. They've won the public vote. I think as well, it kind of protects RT in a way. Over the last few years, no one has really given out to RT for selecting, the method of selection. When we haven't qualified, people have held their hands up and going, yeah, I did vote for them. They didn't qualify. Fair enough. That's what's happened. Whereas when we went internal, I remember the Nicky Byrne year, particularly the Sarah McTurnan year, the amount of abuse that not only the artist got, but also RT got for selecting them, and people saying, I didn't have a say in the song. And if, people don't have the relationship with that song or artist from the first day, you're toast for 6 months. Like, you have to live with that song. And whether the broadcaster, feels that this is the right choice, ultimately, if you don't have that connection with the fans, you're toast. And Eurovision is a weird bubble where like fans are really, really important. They can make or break you, particularly if you're a borderline qualifier. I always think of Sazal this year. We loved her. She was great, gas crack, part of the clique, that group, the beauty blender for whatever they're called. Like she was probably a borderline qualifier, if not more of an NQ. But I definitely think the fans pushed her into the final. And obviously she didn't perform great in the final. What was it, 2 points, whatever it was from the public. But like she still got there. And that made such a difference to Denmark, who hadn't qualified since 2019. So like I think that fan engagement is so important. And as well, you were saying about results earlier, Lou, about it's kind of 50-50. But we've had 2 last place finishes in the semi-finals with internal selections, 2019 and 2021. Like, it just shows you, is there trust in the broadcaster to make it the right decision? I don't know if we're in that space right now. Who knows? We might, they might make a great decision. But I don't think the public fully trust the broadcaster to make that decision. On top of all the other noises you were alluding to earlier about, like, just RT's not in that place right now to be, and that's totally fair, I think.
And we've always said, like, and I know the UK had this when it came to Sam Ryder, that like the public were finally kind of backing an act. Like, what is the point in sending someone with the song when like people just don't care and the radio stations aren't gonna play it and all that? At least there's, as you said, like that sense of ownership if there's been, a third of the vote coming from the public, and more often than not the public ends up deciding ultimately the result. There's a very practical comment in here from Adam G, good friend of the podcast, saying, keep the national final selections going, as even though the Late Late format has its problems, it's still taking us in a good direction. Hopefully bringing the selection to a bigger venue depending on budgeting. Maybe bring in a bigger range of artists and songs just like the past 2 years, but take it a step further in terms of quality.
I totally agree with that. Like, I'm quite pro Eurosong. It just needs to keep on elevating.
Yeah. The B Channel Instagram says, I'd rather we never go back to internals. What we have right now is all right, to be fair. We just need a change of venue. And maybe more power to the people, ? Televote only has 33% of the say. Make it at least 50% to compromise.
No, I don't agree with that. I think we have such a bad rep in this country for the GAA parish vote. We've seen it. That's why Ireland Got Talent got cancelled, because all the groups were winning, because obviously there's 20 members in a group. They can just get, that's like 20 people behind every person in that group. Just, we're too small a nation. There's not enough people tuning in. If you have a toy show audience of 1.2 million people tuning in, brilliant, you might get away with it. But realistically, unless you bring in like free voting in some sort of way, I just don't think Ireland can do that. You need to factor, a weight of a heavy jury behind it of, 60% jury or whatever it is to combat that parish vote. Because we've seen it in the past with the talent shows in general. Like, it is so powerful, and linear TV might be going down. People might be switching off the TVs. But when someone is on a TV show, you tune in and you vote for that person because you know them, whether they're talented or not. It happens so often. So often. Wild Youth, clear example. Biggest name on the selection that year. They won the televote. Now, a lot of people would say Connolly should have won. I know we say it here, but like, realistically, take away their fame and factor, I think they wouldn't have won.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I was going to say, you would think the same would happen for Samantha Mumba, but
that's a good point.
Didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it was actually the juries that backed her.
Yeah.
She came...
That was the strangest set of results Eurosong has
She
had.
came first with the international, second with the Irish vote, and then she came, was it fourth with the televote or fifth?
Fourth, I believe.
Fourth, yeah.
And Niall coming down lower with the juries made no sense.
And second with the televote. Madness.
Bizarre.
Just
weird.
To add on to what you were saying there, Connor, as well, like, at the end of the day, the Irish public will not be the ones voting or putting votes behind Ireland when it comes to the contest. So I think it's important to have some kind of international voice. I'd like it maybe to change, like, a slightly bigger panel. As you said, we got some weird set of results last year, so there's still room for improvement. But I think, it doesn't really make sense to send something 100% backed by people who aren't going to be the ones voting eventually anyway. But I do think they still need a say, somewhat, because you want it to be backed up by the fans, as you said, Connor. Feel that you've had a say, but I don't think it should be increased. I think 33% is pretty fair, I would say.
I think with Eurosong, like, there's no point changing it or changing the whole process until you really realize, all right, there is nothing we can physically do to improve this. That's when you go, oh God, we need to change things up. Like, I think Eurosong has improved drastically since it came back in 2022.
It hasn't reached its peak yet.
It hasn't reached its peak. There's so many improvements you can do to it. Improve the juries, expand the voting in general. Like, make the points more spread at the whole country, like each province or something like that.
I've
each
loved
county,
that idea.
something like that. Make that more expansive. expand the amount of songs you have, expand it from 6 to 8 or 10 or whatever it is. I know it's limited space, but you can make it work. You can get in rented like rooms or whatever you need to. Use the Fair City dressing room, something like that. Like there's ways about it. Improve the staging, improve the postcards, make the show longer, bring in semi-finals, do all that sort of stuff. Make your promo campaign, I'm sorry, is still really, really poor. Like Eurovision, I got sent we all got sent the press pack for Eurovision. They harped on so much in that press pack about it being the number one show for 18 to 34-year-olds, 25% viewing shares, nothing you see on linear TV nowadays. RT do, agree with that, but yet they're putting it on the Ray Darcy show at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when, like, no offense, no young person is listening to that realistically because they're either in school, college, or in work. So they're not listening to that. So, people often say we're the first place they hear the song or first place they hear from the artist because they're listening to us because podcasts are big with young people at the moment or it's easily accessible to them at that point. You just got to reinvent the wheel in that way. When that all doesn't work, or if that doesn't, bring Eurovision standards up in the country, that's when you go, okay, let's rework this. Let's have a look at this and see what we can do. If they were to change things up, I think it's just a little too early. A little too early in that process. I think Eurosong still has room to grow.
Give it one more year at the least, just to see where we are.
Yeah.
See the landscape of the contest. Like, we know there's a big kind of vote coming up in September amongst the broadcasters about important issues. See what happens there. See what Austria is like next year. Obviously, see how we get on.
Yeah.
And go from there. Like, I feel like 5 years is just a nice round package. And that would be what I'm advocating for if the RT Eurovision team was listening to me. That's what I'd be saying. Just give it one more bash at I was about to say Eurobash. Shout out OG. At Eurosong and just see where we go.
And it can work. We've seen it with Bambi, like 6th place. We got top 10. Like, it can work. It's not as if
I really enjoyed the last 2 years, honestly.
100%. There were plenty of other good acts as well last year who came second, third, fourth, or whatever. Like, it was a really good selection of songs. Just because they don't qualify didn't mean we didn't have a qualifier in the pack.
I think Eurosong 2024 is probably the framework that you need to follow in terms of opening submissions early, engaging with the artists, getting
such good genres in there as well,
getting a good team. Like, we always talked about that team of Sergio, Bambi, all their makeup artists, all that, Reina,
social media,
Sophie, social media, Amy, even having like good people around them was so core. Obviously it was such a traumatic year. We obviously all know what happened backstage, all that sort of stuff. But that core team is so positive. We saw a lot of them return for Emmy in 2025. That's so important. Having Michael on the podcast a lot of the time, he's often talked about not having that team. But if you have the same people
who understand the contest.
Exactly. You need people who understand. If you don't have any understanding of Eurovision, it's an uphill battle.
It's a beast, isn't it? It's
you need someone on your team. You need some sort of knowledge.
Yeah.
That knows how, the middle of November, everyone thinks it's quiet. There's something going on in November.
Oh, yeah.
And that
always.
person will know what's going on. You need that knowledge.
So we've talked about potentially it being brought out of the Late Late Studio. We've talked about how it could be improved within RT. Just to kind of throw another spanner in, if we're still on the national final conversation, there has been chat before, and I know, Connor, you've definitely brought it up in conversation before about ESEZ in Czechia and that kind of online model we've seen, and they've done it in kind of different ways. They've presented it in different ways. I recall a couple of years ago, they had each act, I believe it was the Lake Malawi year, actually 2019, and they had to kind of come up with their own music video for the song within a house. We've had years where they've just given them like a bog standard studio, kind of nearly square, cube-shaped little area with, some bisexual lighting, and they said, away you go and perform your song. And it's just like a bog standard, everyone gets the same. And then they had an online vote. Vesna's year, they had like a strange little stage. They kind of ventured out with that, the Liverpool year. And then they have eventually tried to elevate it into more of a studio national final with the presenter and live results and so on. Do you think that would be a way for Ireland to go if budget is an issue? Because, you would be essentially saving on costs, but you would be scaling back, I suppose, the spectacle of the show? Just for devil's advocate, what would you think of that
I think
framework?
I really like what they did, particularly when they had the studio. I remember, what year was that?
22.
22. I thought that was a really cool year. My only real reservation on this kind of change and going that direction, in more of like nearly an indie approach, is that if you have less eyes in it, if it's not going to be prime time, if you're going more so online votes or even just not on the Late Late Show, if you get a massive drop in viewers, are the people voting going to be a very small selection of like big Eurovision fans? Is that going to skew the vote? That is what would concern me. I don't know if that's a fair concern, but yeah, anything online scares me because I'm like, is that just going to be us and OJ putting our votes in? Yeah,
Just play devil's advocate.
yeah, play devil. Do it.
Realistically, those are the people who are voting on the night, though. You know,
Yeah, like
and
we
their
said earlier,
families.
the Irish public aren't voting on our song
Yeah.
in Eurovision. So is it better to have the Eurovision fans
But
decide
even,
than
but
a
even
late,
that,
late
in
audience?
terms of like realistically, the
I
general
know,
viewer.
but we don't want Benidorm Fest.
No, we don't. But like in terms,
the shade.
but in terms of like having, you still have you still have the exact same voting system essentially.
Yes.
But like, you know, the people voting, I know Dippin', obviously Late Late gets what 450,000 per Euro song, let's say 43% share. Realistically, there would be a drop in some sort of aspect. You never know, but realistically, there would be. So let's say you're getting 300,000, 350,000 for a Euro song off the Late Late Show. You're still probably getting the same amount of people who would vote on the Late Late Show voting on a standalone show, if you get what I mean. Like
Yeah.
most of the general public, if they don't have any skin in the game, they're just watching it for entertainment because one, votes cost like €2 per vote. So they're like, why am I paying money for that?
Yeah.
So it's either Eurovision fans or people who know the artists competing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So would you, like, I don't know if you would actually see that much of a dip in votes.
Yeah, and maybe you wouldn't, but that's just one of my concerns. Is it just going to be number one? Like if you had, because we've had this conversation before, like let's say quarter or semi-finals, is that just going to be the parish vote? Do you know?
Yeah.
It probably would end up, even though it's a great idea, you just can't, I don't think, have semi-finals unless you have something like MGP or Melody Festival. And then once you have that one standalone show, yeah, if it's not prime time, that would be my only concern. However, no, I do really like what they did, particularly like some of the creative angles. But yeah, I still think I would edge towards just better the devil you know, keep it on Eurosong for the next year, and then you'd nearly need a year to start you know, thinking through all of those other creative out of the box ideas while you're doing that year. What about you, Connor?
Yeah, like I think it depends on what you want to do. Like if it is decided that it's going to be off the Late Late Show and we're sticking with the national final, I think realistically the most obvious way of going about it is doing an ESCZ style show. That doesn't mean having an online show. You can definitely have an online element, but I think that sort of look realistically of like 2022 of that studio look is the way you're going to go about it, because of like obviously the space in RT, they have a studio like that with the wraparound LED screen, so you could do something like that. We've used it for performances during COVID. Leslie's backup tape that was filmed there in that studio, so they've done it before, so there's a capacity there. Junior Eurovision is filmed in that studio, so they've done it before for musical performances. Just to put it out there, how would you feel about an ESC's 2022 style performance, but it's pre-recorded?
I was
as
about to
live?
ask this.
Yeah, pre-recorded as live, but it's a pre-recorded
It's played
performance.
back.
It's played back,
Yeah.
and you're filling a studio with Eurovision fans, like, you know, the Late Late Studio, Studio 4, but it's like no stage. It's just covered with fans, people standing up. You could have a more interesting stage. You announce the results live, everything like that. If you want, or if you wanted to have a panel, you could have a panel, but that's the style of show you want to do. How would you feel about that? Like, do you think it matters that you're not like in the audience? Obviously, we're lucky enough to have gone to Eurosong multiple times, but you know, as an audience member, would you feel like you're losing out on not seeing a live performance in any capacity?
It's hard. If it were to improve the production, then yes, I'd like to see it. But then another part of me feels like it's really important for the acts to, it's nearly like a mini test to do that live element. Like, how do they show up on the day when they know they're live to the whole nation? Like, the Late Late Show is like the country's biggest show, you know, it's iconic. And if somebody weren't to be able to pull it out of the bag on the Late Late Show, then, you know, are they going to perform on the Eurovision stage? That'd be my only concern. But I suppose like they would just have to make it fair and put provisions in place whereby it's like you've X amount of rehearsals and the fifth take is it, and that's it. You know, if they're all held to the same rule, I suppose that's fair.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like what they did in, what was it, 2021, when they did the pre-recorded performances in case anything happened, how that they all had restrictions around that, right? That you can only have so many takes.
It was 30 minutes to record.
Yeah, I think if it was something like that, it would make sense. I think, yeah, if that, you know, allowed them more ability to change up production, to have better sound, to have a better studio, more fun on the day, because you could make it so fun and Top of the Pops style, and more X Factor style, but like in what's the word? Not so dark like the X Factor, but just the fun elements and the live elements of it. Yeah, I agree with you, Lou.
And like, just to say, it doesn't have to be pre-recorded. You could also cut between the studios as well. Like, you know, just the fans are in one studio, the live performance is happening in another. Like, you still have that live
They're
element.
barely showing the audience like in the performances anyway.
And
so.
all the angles that they are showing are atrocious.
Yeah,
so
they're
like
awful.
you don't you don't hear the audience either. Like, that's all cut back as well.
Why are
so.
they showing the top of people's heads during ballads? Like, I don't want to see that. Like, I want to see Niall's face or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Jack O'Donovan says on TikTok, we have the budget for better production. I mean, it's questionable.
Better production in terms of what though? Like, is that a standalone show? Is that moving it to the 3 Arena? Like,
yeah, it can mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
Then he says, which I agree with, it doesn't need to be fancy, just better sound quality and a bigger stage. Portugal, Denmark, Belgium, etc. do it well. I would say with Belgium, it depends on the year because they're alternating broadcasters.
I think for us, we need a mix of like an ESZ model with the Portuguese model of like just focusing on great, authentic Irish music, but doing it in a creative way that we can actually afford to do it. I think that's our model that we should be going down if we were to change things. We don't know. It's all up in the air.
What if things turned on their head then and we went back to internal selections? Because there are people out there who would like to see us going internally. What do we think that would look like?
Can I start?
Yeah,
because I want to be slightly in defense of internal selections, because I'd say we have been quite harsh, I suppose, particularly looking at our track record.
That doesn't help, does it?
It doesn't help.
Yeah.
And I think we all remember the pain of those years. And there is something so heartbreaking when, as a fan, like you've had no say in it and you get this song and you just feel not represented.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. But I suppose if we look at modern Eurovision, right, and even what other countries are doing, and some of the most successful countries, i.e. the winners of the last 2 years, did come from internal selections, but came from quite specific kinds of internal selections, right? It wasn't just one person going, I know your man, or, you know, I know his manager, so let's pick him. They came from very well designed and specific processes that had multiple stages. I believe Switzerland, when Nemo won, like that was, or when Nemo was chosen, it wasn't just, oh, Nemo's great. You know, they have a number of things that they do that they utilize. What I would like to see for Ireland is, even though it's internal, have it somewhat illustrated what's happening. Does that make sense? So say, look, we're going to have step 1, you submit. Step 2,
Transparent process.
Transparency in the process. Thank you, Conor. That's exactly what I meant. So, right, we'll open up. You can submit your songs. I'm sure they're going to be talking to other people in the background as well, maybe large artists who they've been trying to attract for a number of years. Then, once they've chosen, let's say however many songs, start doing what those countries do. So I know what's happened before is they will actually first of all, push them out through websites, like survey websites that will take people who have no interest in the competition, probably not even from the country. They can say, I want, this amount of people over 65. I want this amount of people 19 to 20, whatever, age categories, different kinds of people. Push that out and see which one performs the best. Then you can do a panel of industry people, you can do a panel of international people, and then even a fan panel I would love to see. And then once you get, let's say, your top 10, you can move them forward and have them go to a live performance round, invite people in the industry, people who have been to Eurovision, past contestants, fans who are trusted, and have them perform and ranked on that, which I know some of those very successful countries have done, like Austria, like Switzerland. We know both, obviously, Nemo and JJ were amazing vocalists and had the song. And then, you choose from what your top 3. And I believe it was Zoe, right? Came out of the same selection process as Nemo. So then that could set you up, if you have a good selection process, like that can set you up for the next 3 years if you wanted, if you build up those relationships. So I don't think it necessarily has to be such a bad thing, but I think there needs to be a lot of transparency, and it needs to be a very fair process. And because the previous years we've had internal selections, I have no idea what's gone on. And this is not me suggesting that it was unfair or anything, but it does not come across as a fan when there's no transparency. When I look back at those years, it just felt like, where is this coming from? Where, if you build that trust and transparency like those countries have, I think I'd feel way more understanding. And sorry, I know that was a big rant there, but I think it's a fair thing, because sometimes when we say internal selection, we think it's just, Louis Walsh picking who he wants versus.
Well, it was 1 year.
But when you say there, like, even like not knowing what's going on, like Ryan O'Shaughnessy's comments about his year and like dealing with the creative director, like not like comments like that haven't been helpful towards our reputation in the internal selection sphere. I think you summarised that really, really well, Alex. I agree with so much of what you said. I think, like, in summary, I agree. If it was going internal for Ireland, I would like transparency. We've seen other countries host internal selections well, especially recently. We've seen before, the likes of Germany has had like a 100-person panel where it's just like a really large focus group, and they get them to vote and they get their feedback. There's so many different ways to do it. Sometimes it has just felt like, and this is just my feeling, obviously I don't know how true it is, but sometimes it has felt like stuff has just been chucked at the wall and we're seeing what will stick. Suish Nish says on Instagram, time for an internal selection. As long as the selection panel are sure they have an act and a song that can qualify. Otherwise, let the public decide. That's kind of interesting. Like, what do you do then? Do you take it year by year and see, can you internally get a good song and then let the public decide? Is that a bit messy?
So messy.
Would you rather we just stick to the one way, Connor?
It's like building a house. You need foundations. And I think so many selection models, whether it's internal or national final, they have good foundations. They're established models. As you were saying, the Swiss model, Nemo and Zoe May came out from the same selection model because it was an established process. If you're chopping and changing from year to year, one, it just gives off the impression that you're unprofessional, you don't know what you're doing. And two, it is just messy. Like, it doesn't give a good... The optics are so bad. Artists, they don't know what you're going to do, whether it's internal or national final. They don't know what they're preparing themselves for. I'm so against it. Internal selections, I'm against. I'm going to challenge you guys on what you were saying there. Those panels that you were talking about, yes, when countries get them right, it can work really, really well. And we've seen it, like a lot of the winners of the last few years have been from internal selections. Ireland has been doing panels. We know this for a fact. Like, there has been a 50-person panel involved between industry experts, fans, helping select the songs to get a top 10 to decide who the top 6 are going to Eurosong over the last, 4 years since Eurosong came back. And, there's no reason for us to say that hadn't been happening before in terms of panels in general. Fans might not have been involved, but panels probably were consulted before. Also as well, what doesn't give me great hope is when you look at the artists who have been maybe invited to participate in Eurosong of the last few years, the likes of Samantha Mumba, Wild Youth, Public Image Limited, is it safe to say maybe those were the artists that would have been internally selected, possibly? You never know, just to put it out there. So if that's the artists who are being approached directly to participate, whether it is a national final or internal selection, that's not great optics, and that's not a great sense of.
Imagine we sent Hawaii to Liverpool.
Do you know what I mean? But like that's
Hello
the
there.
sense that I'm getting in terms of if would they be an internally selected artist that year if they had the choice, if they're
point.
being invited.
Yeah.
So I think with certain broadcasters they might get it right, but for me, just from what I've seen when we did internally select artists and what we've seen over the last few years, it doesn't give me great scope that I can fully trust the broadcaster to make an executive decision of, okay, this is the song that will get Ireland back to winning ways, when we've had the likes of Hawaii, My Way, We Are One, Who
Love Me
else?
Like I
Holy
Do.
Love Me Like
Trinity.
I, Love Me Like I Do, Erica Cody, like those songs that just would have flopped so badly.
Imagine Erica going over Bambi.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's the thing. We would have never got a Bambi, or we would have never got a
Yeah.
I do think they would have sent Bambi though. I think it was pretty.
internally selected.
I think so.
Oh,
Really?
no, I don't think so.
I don't
That
think
year.
so.
It was too up in the air
Yeah.
at the time in the beginning.
Hey, look, that's us
Yeah.
Hypothesizing.
hypothesizing about it all. We did never know, but like,
Yeah.
just based on the evidence presented towards us, there's nothing that tells us otherwise, or strongly is against that idea. If those are the invited, if Bambi was invited to participate, oh my god, 100%, they probably would have been internally selected. But when you have the likes of Erica Cody, and that's no shade towards them, not just like my opinion. I don't know. I guess you guys agree as well, but like
There's so much nuance to it, I suppose. There's been in Eurovision, there's always trends, right? And I kind of hate that word, but like, hear me out here. There has been trends, like I would say up until like 2021, 22, where national finals ruled the roost. People would obsess over Melody Festival and San Remo, even though, yes, its own music festival, but essentially, de facto national final within the Eurovision sphere. Melody Grand Prix. It does feel like the tide is turning because of this Central European hold of songwriting camps, Switzerland, Austria, Taya just being in the right place at the right time all the time. And the way that those broadcasters have been running things. And I feel like the new buzz term the last kind of 18 months is songwriting camps. Songwriting camps, songwriting camps. We need songwriting camps. And Alfie on TikTok has said, go internal, but it has to be done right with songwriting camps. Do you guys think that would be the answer to our general woes?
Not exclusively, no, but I think they can be.
Could be a good
utilised.
resource.
Definitely a good resource. But I think you want to mix, right?
We see that there's one being run in Dublin, independently of RTE this year. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. Do we think songwriting camps are the answer for a country like Ireland? We've also had, is it Views of the Valley, which Rail to Song did come from. And that doesn't seem to be solely a Eurovision songwriting
this
camp.
one is like purely focused on, like, it's very much
This Dublin
highlighting
Song Fest,
Eurosong, Ireland, Eurovision, with that in mind. Like, for me, I'm not against songwriting camps at all. Like, I think they're a great idea and it's a cool experiment to see. But like, you need to make sure wherever the songwriting camp or whatever you envisage for the song is, like, it has to be authentic. Don't try and make this song sound like a Eurovision song. All these words and things, sentences that we've said over the years, like, it has to be a great song regardless of if it's Eurovision or not. And there's no Eurovision sound. I think that's the problem with that I found with Like a Party last year. It just sounded so much like a Nordic Eurovision song, and it didn't relate anyway to me personally, Irish, or whereas Bambi was Irish, but it wasn't like your Fiddle I Fiddly or Riverdance across the stage, or it wasn't any of that. It was like you had the Celtic symbols, you had the own writing, you had all those Irish references, but it wasn't in your face. It wasn't like, look at us, we're Irish. Like Heartbeat 2014 had a big Irish flag on the background when the key change happened. Like, you just don't need that. Yes, it's Ireland, but you don't need to like literally say, look at us, we have leprechauns on the stage and we're drinking Guinness, and let's do it that way. So that's my only worry with songwriting camps, is that if you are inviting all these people over, and you have a mix of people with Eurovision mind, you can nearly fall into that trap of trying to go down that route. But if that doesn't happen, then I think they're a great platform and, you know, should be utilized 100%. That would be my strong message to anyone participating, is that, like, yes, Eurovision might be in your mind, but discount it. Just write a good song that is 3 minutes, screams Ireland, but isn't like ticking boxes to be a Eurovision song.
Yeah, I look forward to what is produced out of it 100%. And if the best song comes from a songwriting camp, great.
Yeah,
like,
happy days.
We'd love that. But yeah, I still think obviously independent artists who aren't involved still should be a part of the process as well. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think songwriting camps can be a good resource, but shouldn't be relied on. I think we're going to see a potential like spread of songwriting camps now across Europe, and it's not always going to be the answer. So we gotta mix things up. Dub James on X, on our Twitter account, has given a very like good rounded answer to our question, what should Ireland do next? Saying, regardless of whether the act is chosen by national final or internally, they need to satisfy below 4 things. First is established artist. Second is competitive song. Third, artistic vision of how song should be presented at Eurovision. And fourth, artist able to deliver that vision convincingly on stage and on television. I could let go of the established artist thing a little bit. I'm okay with it, somebody, as you said, being independent, maybe somebody finding their feet a little bit more. This could be the perfect platform. Competitive song, 100%. We are so guilty of sending the safest songs, the least competitive songs that people just won't pick up the phone and vote for. The reason Bambi did well was because people thought they were strange.
like I'd way rather send a Doomsday Blue that will possibly crash and burn. Like that could have really gone badly. But I'd way rather crash and burn than send some vanilla pop that is just gonna go nowhere. And we've seen enough of that, haven't we?
For sure. For sure. I definitely...
Not thinking of anything in particular.
Go on, name a shame.
There's too many to think of.
Yeah,
There
half
are.
our catalogue.
I also think like we've had a really rough ride with staging, especially in those internal selection years. Like you can see in 2018 that Ryan O'Shaughnessy just took over.
Yeah.
It was so obvious.
But even like, it's so bad when you watch the recap of like Ireland in Eurovision and you get to 2023, you see that car crash and geez, we don't even have to talk about it. But then you go to 2024 and you're like, oh my God, like this is revolutionary, not only for Ireland, but for the contest.
Yeah.
And then you go to 2025 and you're just like, oh Jesus, like we're back to that sort of like basic camera angles, basic staging, bit of pyro. We've discovered we can get pyro. You know, it's such a shame that like we didn't see the glory in that simple thing. Sergio, yeah.
But Sergio went and won the bloody contest
Exactly.
the year after.
But even like trying to find the next Sergio, like
yeah.
that sort of thing.
But we
like,
should have a pool of Sergios who are fighting.
I'm sure we do.
get the
I'm sure we
chance.
do. But again,
We
it's
need
just
to
the simple
find them.
decisions of going with someone you might know or you know may think that is good for Ireland, or you know, it's like, you know, I'm sure if you went to BIM and you talked to loads of people studying that, they'd come up with such creative ideas. That's what Sergio did. He just reached out to Bambi and said, look, I have a great idea. Let's go with it. Can I direct your video? And look,
Amazing.
ended up winning Eurovision next year. I think it's really cool though to factor in like when we're talking about internal national final results overall over the last 10 years. I'm stealing this from the Eurotrip podcast, the lads over there. They did a video recently and it was you know the answer, so don't answer. And this is for you, Alex. Over the last 10 years, out of all the top 3 countries, when you put them together, who do you think was more successful as a selection process? What was more successful, national finals or internal selections?
So 30 entries in total, top 3 for 10 years.
Oh, top 3 for 10 years. Oh,
Percentage wise, what would you say? Would it swing in either direction?
I'm going to go with national finals.
How much? But percentage?
Like 60-40.
60-40?
You're not far off.
50-50.
I was
Bang in the middle.
15
each.
internal, 15
So it
national
doesn't
final.
help the argument of like going
Yeah.
one way or the other. Like there, it's even.
Yeah.
Even. It really depends on what your country's capable of doing, ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
So you just need to look at it that way. But
It's so true. Like if you've 20 crap songs, you know, it doesn't matter your internal selection process, or you've got 20 amazing songs,
yeah,
you're still going to do well.
exactly. We'll see.
And the viewers on the night don't have a clue where the song came from. They don't care.
No.
They just want to vote for a
It's
good
just
song.
it's us
Something
nerds talking about
entertaining.
Eurovision in the middle of August. Going, what should we do next? That's who
We need
cares.
to get a live.
Wait to bring us back down.
We took
to
3
where-
months off and now we're like, oh geez, maybe we should take a bit longer.
Like, actually, it doesn't matter, does it?
Doesn't matter. No, it does matter. It does matter.
It does.
We've really analysed like the actual selection process.
If this question was on an English paper too, we would have A's all around, H1s all around.
the
lad.
examiner would be asleep by now.
Jesus, we've studied this for like 4 years.
We have a whole degree in Eurosong,
we
guys.
literally do.
We literally
bachelor's,
do.
we're doing our
We're working
masters.
towards the masters now. The last thing I'll say on it, I think you guys agree because we've talked about it a lot in the podcast, is, and I think you mentioned this earlier yourself, Connor, just that authenticity of like, we are such a unique small country in this continent, in this world. As soon as you hear a certain type of music, a certain sound, you know it's Irish. And I don't necessarily want it all to be like too much diddly eye. I don't want people to feel like they're in Temple Bar and, you know, Michael Flatley's out there with this presidential bid or whatever. But just Michael Flatley on stage for 3 minutes giving a speech. But we do need to just lean more into our unique identity. Like, there's an interesting thing going on with like people turning away from globalism, and like that's a whole like conversation for another day. But like there are so many things that makes our country and our sound unique. And also like we're always pushing the language, like Gaeilge on the podcast. It would be not Gaeilge for Gaeilge's sake, as we always say, but like a beautiful song as Gaeilge would just be something so different and something to be proud of. So yeah, if the broadcaster, again, if the team are listening, I'd love to just see the right entry with a touch of that in there. That would make my Irish Eurovision heart very happy. There's a big like push of that. I don't know if you guys have noticed, like in Irish mainstream at the moment, like obviously Kneecap are huge, and Kneecap are Kneecap. They're like one phenomenon. But then like Chase and Abby like releasing a song, Os Gaeilge, like TikTok. There's like DJs going viral for remixing songs into Gaeilge. Like Imlay are playing Electric Picnic. I'm always banging on about them.
Yeah, there's a massive resurgence, isn't there? It's
Yeah.
really cool to see.
Be nice if we could translate that onto the stage.
I agree totally. I think you need to build that into whatever process you go down. I don't think like we should follow the trends, because those trends might be over by the, you know, the way Eurovision is such an odd thing. Like you're planning so far ahead, like those trends might be over. So yes, definitely factor it in to whatever process you go down, but like don't make it the ultimate goal. If that makes sense. Like always have it in the back of your head. Be keen to have that on your stage,
The right
but
song.
don't make that the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
I think Ireland as well, like stop thinking of the song of the artist.
Mm.
Like get everything else before that right, and then
Mhm.
that will give you the best song and artist.
Mhm.
For me personally, my message would be the public have to have a say, have
Mhm.
a connection with the artist, have authenticity with the artist themselves through the song. But I think the only way you're going to have that is through a national final. That's my 2
Boom.
cents.
Mic drop.
Yep.
Ah.
Alex?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm probably less pushed on national final, but very much pushed on authenticity, transparency, rigorous process, no matter which it's going down.
Like an election bid.
I will vote for
I
you.
will bring transparency. I will bring a vigorous process.
She's going up against Michael Flatley now. Hashtag Alex for Prez.
Alex for the Rs.
Oh, don't get
Alex
don't
for the Rs.
A for A.
Maddie for the Rs.
Barros Mati.
Oh, new Instagram name, girls.
Oh my god.
No,
Jesus Christ.
no. But yeah, I've said it all. Transparency. That's what I want.
Count the
Authenticity.
votes. Oh, lads, there you go.
Jesus.
That's our TED talk, our mutual TED talk on what Ireland should do next. I feel like there should be horror music behind that or something.
But yeah, we're coming to the end of this episode, lads. And obviously we're wrapping it up for season 3 of the podcast, which has been exciting. It's hard to think that we're nearly a year on from Dr. Matthew Barrett and Deputy Leo Varadkar being one of our first guests of the season, and we're wrapping it up now in August before we get ready for season 4 of the podcast. But before we'd go, we thought we'd have a quick Q&A with you guys. You guys submitted some questions to us, and Lou, you've got them there. Any interesting questions that we'll touch on before we sign off for the season?
Sure. One from Rachel here, which piqued my interest, is will you do a live show again? I think if the power is that big, guys, it's an emphatic yes. Hopefully, but you know,
There's nothing planned.
stay tuned. We have thoughts about it,
Yeah.
but nothing's come to fruition just yet.
I don't think it'd be this side of the year.
No.
Probably. Because like we got to think last year when we were planning our November show, we started that in July.
I think we had the venue booked around now.
Yeah, like we were getting ready. We were actually, I don't know if we were told the story. We were sitting in the restaurant and we were scouting venues in the middle of July.
Was that when we were sitting beside the Grand Social?
Yeah, and
Oh,
then we
yeah,
were like,
nice
let's
burger
email
that
Leah
day.
Varadkar, and then we got the answer there and then. So we were
that
scouting.
was that.
We were scouting venues and booking Leah
God.
Varadkar in the middle of summer last year. So what a
God, that's
time!
mental.
What a time!
Yeah,
Watch
I
the
love.
space, I would say.
I loved the live show so much.
Hopefully Mihal doesn't miss his cue this time.
I think ban Miho from the wine. That was the issue of the I remember sitting there and
Oh
like,
my god, I thought you were talking about Mihal Martin because we were talking about
no,
Mio the T-shirt.
Miho
Glasgow
Linden,
Miho.
Glasgow Miho.
There's so many Mihals in our life.
No, sitting there and Alex delivered the line of, "Oh, is that you, Santa?" And Miho sitting like front row.
Santa's forgot his
Santa's
cue.
forgot his cue.
cross-legged.
Legs crossed,
Wine in the hand.
wine in the hand, going, "Oh shit, I missed my cue."
Yeah, in fact, he was front row, so he had to get up.
Front row, like 4 seats away from Michael Keeley and Louise Cancel, and you're probably like, "What the fuck is going on at this stage right now?"
And then we just had to riff for like
Just
2
to rip,
minutes.
yeah. And that was like 2
Santa
minutes into the
sack.
show. We were like, right, let's go with it.
Baptism
Um,
by fire.
Yeah, we might release that full show
Yeah.
for her, you know,
yeah.
some way.
That was a deadly night.
It
Yeah,
was so fun.
maybe
That was a great
behind.
show. Great convos.
If you want to watch it, you might be able to. someday.
Mickey Joe Hart like doing the remix. We've gone through this all before, but it was so
It was
good.
so good.
It was so good.
So good.
This is a question I feel directed at Alex and I. How's Theo doing?
Oh, lads.
Theo's doing just
Alex,
fine.
were you on his Instagram today?
Yeah, do you want to tell the story of how you opened the conversation this afternoon?
Theo has a lovely Instagram post
what
that
was
is
it of?
currently up. I won't speak on the podcast of what it's of.
It's It's after the watershed. 9:20 right now.
What was it, Connor? What did I
That wasn't
say?
me looking at it. It's your Instagram, girl, not me.
Oh, I showed you. Honey.
Guys, if you go back to the 13th of August to Theo's Instagram, you can go and see
it's hard to miss.
I mean,
Jesus,
yeah.
size
It
of
is
them.
hard to. I got a bit of a nick now. To be fair,
Actually, speaking of how's Theo doing, the Theo Evan fan club, we came second at
news.
OJ's quiz.
Disclaimer: I was not part of this fan club. I came fourth. I had no
Your team did very well too, in fact.
yeah, but you didn't come second because you weren't a part of the Theo Evan fan club.
yeah. And let me tell you, every time they got a correct answer, woo! Oh, jeez, someone shoot Theo. Shoot Theo.
We were very excited.
That was a good
No, we
night.
channeled our inner Sergio and
Yeah.
Theo, the power of the shh.
Yeah. Yeah, we were powerful that night. I love that. Theo's great. Theo is great.
Okay.
Connor, a question for you
Uh-oh.
from Cian B. Lafford. I think you know what's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Has Connor recovered after the Gaia dispute?
I recovered, but have you recovered, Keane? Because you were proven wrong. You know, she qualified. She came in like 12th to 14th. I think.
She should have done better.
Got 12 points from the Irish public.
Robbed.
Yeah.
Wasn't she robbed by juries, wasn't she?
Juries, yeah. She came like bottom 5 at the juries, I think. But
In
she,
what world?
I know.
Shocking.
The girl was hanging from the ceiling. I don't know. We've been through this, but yeah. Keane, I know you apologise, but you know, you should apologise to Justine. And
He needs to reflect on.
needs
the
to
result.
reflect on
We
that.
need like an apology video, like one of those influencers. I'm
What
taking
Cian will do
this
is-
time to reflect.
No,
on
Keane's like gone
myself.
full on like on his Instagram with his videos of magic. So like, I would not be surprised if he actually fully did an
The
apology.
caption will be sorry,
Cian,
sister.
I don't need a video now. Don't be giving us videos. So
He definitely is going to DM us one now. I see it.
he'd be like, "Fuck off, leave me alone."
I see it for us. I'll round up with one more here from Steve. Will the number, I quite like this question actually, will the number of competing countries be bigger or smaller in 2026 than 2025? So am I correct in thinking we had 37
Yeah,
this year? So we've had like quite a few Eastern Balkan countries out. Are we going to have any brand new countries for the 70th edition of the contest. That is probably a high possibility, like the way Australia joined for the 60th. Or will we have any returning countries this year? Or are we going to lose and go less than 37?
Well, I hope we lose one country, and we all know what country that is, so I don't think we need to touch on that. But hopefully that's gone. And I think that honestly opens up the possibility of more countries joining, 100%.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a contest full of countries who are playing the game fairly and in it for the meaning of Eurovision, of uniting the continent and bringing, glory to the night, of a bit of fun on a night in May, taking us away from all the worries of the world, because it is such a fecked up world at the moment. It's actually depressing and scary seeing what's going on in the world. And I think a lot of us get into Eurovision because it is that distraction. And over the last 2 years, that scariness has crept into our world, and it's probably educated a lot of us on what's actually going on, who may not have been educated on it. I, for one, would hold my hands up and say my eyes have been opened completely differently over the last 2 years. And yeah, I would much rather see a contest that gets back to its roots. And if that means losing a few countries to gain a few countries, so be it. But I think if we go on any longer in its current form, I think we're looking at Eurovision possibly dying off in the next few years. I think we've gotten 2 scary wake-up calls over the last 2 years. Not to go on to this topic, but I think it is important to talk about.
Yeah.
When you go up and talking about, countries joining or leaving, like, it is a real possibility if nothing changes and we are in a situation where Israel wins, like, we're certainly not participating. A lot of other countries aren't going to participate. So, like, it's certainly just going to kill off Eurovision. So I think for the sake of the contest, we do need to start looking more broadly at countries who have been showing interest over the last few years. The likes of Kazakhstan, Canada, Andorra, getting countries back like that. Why not bulk up the contest in that way as opposed to,
Would you guys be in favour of Canada joining?
I would, to be honest. I'm kind of
Why
like,
not?
if Australia are in.
Why not?
Yeah, agree.
And I feel like Canada want, like, geopolitically to be moving closer to Europe at the moment.
Yeah.
And that would just be like a nice soft power way of doing that. And like, similar to Australia, Canada has a lot of diaspora from people all over the world, and including Europe.
Yeah, they'd probably send a song in French, maybe, would they?
That'd be cool. Yeah, we could have like an homage to Celine Dion.
Yeah.
I would not be opposed to Kazakhstan either, because Kazakhstan has a huge music scene, and it feels kind of cruel nearly that they're allowed into Junior Eurovision to bump up the numbers, but they haven't got that Eurovision invite yet. So it's kind of a question of how far east or west do you go, I suppose. Returnee countries, Andorra, 100% agree. Every year I'm out to bat for Bosnia. They won't be back, but I'd love to see it.
Moldova.
Yeah. Moldova are probably my favourite Eurovision country.
No, it's so sad that they weren't.
And I really hope they don't get kind of like steamrolled by another large country to the east of our continent. Because Moldova just brings so much fun to the competition. It's a shame we don't have Romania and Bulgaria as well. Like, that whole section of Europe is really like not well represented. Turkey doesn't seem like it's going to happen, but they brought such an interesting flair in the past. And I'd love Hungary to just like sort out its leadership and come back, because Hungary brought something that I didn't personally go for, but a lot of people liked.
I really liked their entries actually in their last few years. I thought it was very good and very distinct kind of sounding.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as much different sounds in the contest can muster up. That was a good question. Thank you, Steve.
I think we've wrapped it up really, really nicely. We've kind of addressed what's been happening, what could potentially happen, both with Ireland, both with Eurovision itself, what we hope to see. Maybe a cool way to end it would be like a bold prediction for 2026 before we, we wrap up 2025, essentially. When we come back in September, we're going to be looking at 2026. Yeah. So, bold prediction. Who wants to go first?
Bold prediction for me, 2026, we're going to have a brand new country debut for the 70th anniversary. And I think it's going to be Kazakhstan.
Interesting. Alex, are you
No,
ready?
you go. You go.
I think my bold prediction is that Ireland is going to finish in the top 10
Ooh.
of the Eurovision final 2025.
What do you
2026.
know?
Nothing.
Tell us
Absolutely
more.
nothing. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, I think Ireland's going to finish in the top 10 in Eurovision 2026.
Okay, I
And
like that one.
feck it, Ireland wins Junior Eurovision 2025.
Oh, I'd love that in the Irish language.
Alex still think.
Well, you kind of robbed mine. I was going to say
Yeah,
Ireland
yeah.
qualified.
Cop-out.
I'm going to say UK return to form. Maybe they do well
Ooh.
again.
Ooh.
They've been kind of flopping recently. 0 points 2 years in a row from the public. So hopefully that will give them a kick. And I'd like to see them do well because Sam Ryder was great, but jeepers, the last few years have been questionable to say the least. So maybe Irish qualification and UK return to form are my bold predictions.
Well, lads, I think it's time to wrap up season 4 of the air, or season 3 of the air. What is it? Season 3?
Yeah,
3.
season 3.
It's time to wrap up season 3 of the Eurovision podcast. We have been with you since September 2024, and it's now August 2025. Eurovision 2025 has come and gone. Austria were crowned the winners. We're heading to Austria next year, and it's time to look ahead to that in a little while. We're going on our little break again, but don't worry, we're working really, really hard behind the scenes. We've got a few interviews lined up over the next few weeks, so we are not officially in season 4 yet, but we're working on it behind the scenes. So keep an eye on our socials. We'll be posting away again as usual, teasing what's coming up, and stick there to hear any announcements. Of course, we'll have the host city announcement in the meantime before we start a new season. So head over to our Instagram, X, whatever else we're on, TikTok, Eurovision Podcast, everywhere on that. And as well, lads, don't forget to subscribe to us on Go Loud or wherever you get your podcasts. It's so important that you don't miss any of our future episodes, particularly when we kick off season 4 of the pod in September. And as well, we love to hear from you guys. Get in touch, airvisionpodcast@gmail.com. Also, as well, if you want to support us on Buy Me a Coffee, it's buymeacoffee.com/airvision. We would really, really appreciate that, particularly when we kick off things. We're going to improve things as usual. We always come back with a fresh little look for a new season. So, yeah, again, keep an eye on our socials. Subscribe to us on Go Loud or wherever you get your podcasts. And please donate if you can to buymeacoffee.com/airvision. But from myself, Connor, Alex, thank you so much. Louise, thank you so much as always. For now, thank you for listening to the Eurovision Podcast Season 3. We will see you in September for Season 4. And all we got to say is...
Slán go fóill.